always thought birthdays were meant to be a celebration of life, a reminder that you were loved, valued, cherished. But on the day I turned 25, my entire world shattered, and the pieces cut deeper than anything I had ever felt. My parents had planned a big family gathering. Or at least that's what they told me. The truth. They planned a funeral. Not for someone who died, but for me. For the daughter they decided they didn't want anymore. I remember stepping into the backyard that evening. Lights were hanging from the trees, soft music played from the speakers, and almost every family member I knew, cousins, aunts, uncles, neighbors, stood waiting. I thought it was a surprise party. And it was just not the kind I expected. My mom held the microphone. She looked stunning, calm, collected. Too perfect for a woman hosting her daughter's birthday. My father stood beside her, hands behind his back like he was addressing a wedding, not a celebration. "Thank you for coming," my mother announced. "Today is a very important day. We have an announcement to make." Everyone listened. I waited for a birthday message. Toast. Memory. But then she said it. "From this moment on, our daughter Mira is no longer part of this family." People gasped. Some froze. Some pretended they didn't hear. My entire body felt numb. I looked at my parents, expecting them to laugh, to say it was a joke, a bad one. But their expressions remained cold, emotionless. My father added, "She has violated the values of this family. She has caused shame. We cannot support her decisions or her lifestyle anymore." Lifestyle. What lifestyle? All I did was choose a career they didn't approve of. I became an artist instead of joining the family business. I stepped forward, my voice shaking. "What are you talking about? I haven't done anything wrong. Why are you doing this?" My mother didn't even look at me. "It's better this way. You made your choices. Now live with them. Live with them." Live with what? I felt the ground slipping under me as people looked at me with pity, confusion, and judgment. My own relatives avoided my eyes like I was something contagious. I whispered, "Mom, Dad, please don't do this." My father didn't flinch. "You no longer carry our name. You are on your own." And just like that, on my birthday, the day I came into this world, my parents erased me from theirs. I ran out of the backyard, my vision blurred with tears. The last thing I heard was applause, not for me but for the speech, for the performance, for the image they wanted to protect. It was the night I stopped being their daughter. But what I didn't know was that it was also the night a hidden truth began unraveling. A truth that would expose everything they tried so hard to bury. I spent the next few days in a fog. A thick, heavy fog that wrapped itself around my chest and made it hard to breathe. I replayed the scene over and over. The decorations, the music, the guests, my mother's calm voice, my father's cold eyes, and the sentence that tore through me like a blade. "You are no longer our child." I tried calling them. No answer. Texted. Silence. By the third day they had blocked my number. Blocked. Like I was a scammer. Stranger. Someone they wanted nothing to do with. My best friend Layla took me in. She held me while I cried, let me scream into pillows, fed me when I forgot to eat. But even she couldn't understand the depth of the wound. "They didn't disown you," she said. "They embarrassed you publicly. That's different. Something else is going on." I knew she was right. My parents weren't cruel. Strict, yes. Controlling often. But not publicly humiliating monsters. So why did they turn against me so suddenly? I decided to return to the house. Not to beg, but to get answers. When I arrived, the door that had been my doorway to childhood, laughter, and memories felt foreign. I knocked. My mother opened it. Her face tightened. "What are you doing here?" she asked. "I need to understand," I whispered. "Please." She stepped outside, closing the door behind her as if I were an embarrassment even to the furniture. "There's nothing to understand," she said. "We made a decision." "But why?" pleaded. "Tell me the truth. What did I do?" She folded her arms. "You are choosing a path that goes against our reputation. You refuse to enter the company. You abandoned the future we planned for you. That's it. I became an artist. That's the crime that deserves disowning. My mother didn't blink. Your choices have consequences. I stared at her, really stared. And for the first time I saw something I had never noticed before. Fear. Not fear of me. Fear for herself. Someone else was influencing this. Is Dad making you say this? Yes. Her eyes shifted, the smallest movement, but it said enough. Before she could answer, my father appeared behind her. Go home, Mira, he said. This conversation is over. As if I had won. But then something else caught my attention. Through the small gap of the doorway, I saw a man inside. Stranger. Wearing a suit. Talking to my parents' lawyer. Why was there a lawyer in our house? My father shut the door before I could process it. That's when I realized. This wasn't about me. This wasn't about art. This wasn't even about reputation. This was about something bigger, something dangerous, and disowning me was part of their plan. And if they thought I would just disappear quietly, they didn't know me at all. It started with a clue. A small, almost accidental clue. That lawyer. Why was he there? For the next few days, the thought gnawed at me. So I did what any desperate person would do. I followed him. Not in a creepy way. No dramatics. I simply waited by his office and asked for a meeting. He recognized me instantly and stiffened. You shouldn't be here. Why not? I demanded. What is going on with my parents? He shook his head. I can't discuss client information. I expected that. But what I didn't expect was the way he said it, like he was protecting me, not them. Are they in danger? I whispered. His silence was more powerful than any answer. Please, I begged. If they're doing something illegal, if they're involved with someone dangerous, just tell me. He took a deep breath. I never said anything about illegal activity, he replied carefully. But your parents are under certain pressures. And they believe distancing themselves from you protects the family. Protects them from what? He looked around, lowered his voice. Your parents' company is being investigated. And you, without knowing it, were connected to something that could expose them. Froze. Expose them how? I've already said too much, he whispered. They didn't disown you for your career. They disowned you because someone told them you were a liability. A liability. Me. He nodded. You were asking too many questions at the office. You saw documents you weren't supposed to see. Suddenly everything made sense. 3 weeks before my birthday, I had visited the company to drop off lunch for my father. While waiting, I wandered into the conference room where papers were scattered across the table. Financial documents. Numbers that didn't match. Large sums transferred to unknown accounts. I didn't think much of it. I barely remembered it. But someone noticed. And panicked. The lawyer looked at me with genuine sadness. They believed distancing themselves from you could save the company. You became the easiest thing to sacrifice. Sacrifice. Shield. The child they threw into the fire to keep themselves warm. I walked out of his office shaking with rage. All my life, I believed my parents were honorable. They taught me about integrity, responsibility, honesty. And yet, they were the ones hiding secrets deep enough to destroy an entire family. And they chose to destroy me first. But they underestimated one thing. I wasn't going to run. I wasn't going to hide. And I wasn't going to let them use me as a shield. If they wanted me gone, they were about to regret ever pushing me away. If they wanted me to be the liability, then I would become the greatest one they ever faced. I began with what I knew. The company finances didn't add up. My father and mother were terrified of someone. A stranger in a suit was whispering to them behind closed doors. I had been erased from their lives to protect something. Layla helped me gather every piece of information I could find. I searched public records, old files, bank statements I still had copies of from my internship years ago. The further I looked, the darker everything became. There were false reports, shell companies, Missing funds disguised as charity donations. Payments sent to individuals who didn't exist. Then I found a name that froze my blood. Betrayal. A known businessman with a spotless public reputation. But behind that perfect image, rumors of extortion, blackmail. He was the kind of man who destroyed companies silently, leaving no fingerprints. My parents weren't disowning me. They were hiding me, because someone told them I was a weakness. But I wasn't a weakness. I was the only one brave enough to uncover the truth. One night, Layla and I sat at my small kitchen table. Papers spread everywhere. The room looked like a detective office. "Look at this," she said, pointing at a file. "This account received over $1 million in transfers from your parents' company. And guess who it belongs to? Hale." She nodded. My hands trembled with anger. "So they're being blackmailed?" "Yes," she whispered. "Or worse, they're involved with him willingly." The thought crushed me. What if my parents weren't victims? What if they were accomplices? Felt sick. But there was something else. Something I hadn't noticed before. 3 weeks before my birthday, the same week I saw those documents, my parents had tried transferring ownership of part of the company. Not to me. Hale. Why would they do that? Unless they owed him something they couldn't repay. Unless he owned them. At that moment, I realized the betrayal went far beyond disowning me. They weren't just choosing reputation over their daughter. They were choosing loyalty to a dangerous man over family. But the truth was, I had leverage they didn't know about. Because when I saw the documents in the conference room, I took a picture. Blurry one. Accidental. But enough. Enough to expose everything. Enough to destroy the empire they were desperately trying to protect. And enough to ruin Hale, a man who ruined countless others. I didn't want revenge. But justice. Justice was long overdue. I couldn't go straight to the authorities. Not yet. Not without understanding the full scope of what was happening. If I moved too fast, I would ruin innocent employees, harm the company beyond repair, and worst of all, put myself in danger. I needed a plan that would force the truth into the open without destroying the people who didn't deserve it. And to do that, I had to go back to the place that threw me out. My parents' house. Layla begged me not to go. "Mira, they've already made it clear you're dead to them. Why put yourself through more pain?" "Because they're hurting too," I whispered. "They just won't admit it. And because I still loved them, even after everything." When I arrived at the house, the lights were on, and voices echoed inside. "Meeting. Serious." I slipped around the back, through the gate that still squeaked the way it did when I was 10. From the window I saw them, my parents, sitting across from Hale. He looked nothing like the businessmen on TV. His face was sharp, cold, emotionless. A predator wearing a suit worth more than my apartment. My parents looked terrified. "You're running out of time," Hale said. His voice low but penetrating. "Transfer the rest of the assets. Or I'll make sure everything, including your daughter, disappears permanently." My heart dropped. My daughter. Me. So they didn't disown me because I embarrassed them. They disowned me because Hale used me against them. I was leverage. A bargaining chip. Something he threatened to remove if they didn't obey. My blood boiled. But then I heard something that crushed me. My father whispered, "We've already cut her off. She's nothing to us now. Keep your word. Leave her alone." Nothing. I was nothing to them. Not their child. Not their memory. Not their responsibility. They didn't even hesitate. My mother nodded in agreement. "She won't interfere anymore. She knows nothing." They believed that. They believed I would just disappear quietly. But that was their mistake. Because the only thing more dangerous than a daughter they betrayed is a daughter who knows the truth. I recorded the entire conversation through the window. The audio wasn't perfect, but the words were clear enough. Enough to expose Hale. Enough to expose the blackmail. Enough to reveal everything my parents were too afraid to confront. And then a plan formed, sharp, precise, and fueled by a mixture of heartbreak and determination. I wasn't going to save the company. I wasn't going to save their reputation. But I was going to save myself. And in the process, force them to face everything they ran from. The next morning, I requested a formal meeting with the regulatory board. Anonymously. I didn't give names, didn't point fingers. I simply submitted the evidence I had. Financial inconsistencies, forged documents, and the audio recording. But before the investigation could begin, I knew I had to confront my parents. Face to face. No more running. No more silence. I went to the house again, unannounced. My father opened the door, shock flashing across his face. "Mira, why are you here? We need to talk," I said. "All of us." He hesitated, but something in my eyes must have warned him. This wasn't a plea. This wasn't desperation. This was something else entirely. My mother appeared behind him, her expression cold but uneasy. We sat in the living room. The same room where I learned to walk, where we watched family movies, where I once believed love was unconditional. Now it felt like a battlefield. "I know about Hale," I said quietly. "I know everything." Their faces drained of color. My mother whispered, "You don't understand." "No," I cut her off. "You don't understand. You didn't disown me because of my art. You didn't disown me because I embarrassed you. You did it because you were afraid he would come after me." My father swallowed hard. "He threatened you, Mira. You don't know what he's capable of." "Then why didn't you tell me?" Cried. "Why didn't you trust me? Why didn't you protect me like parents are supposed to?" My mother's voice broke. "We thought distancing ourselves from you would keep you safe. They thought humiliating me publicly was protection." "You didn't protect me," I whispered. "You abandoned me." Silence filled the room. Painful. Heavy. My father rubbed his face, defeated. We were desperate. We owed him more than we could repay. He backed us into a corner. And instead of fighting for me, I said, "You offered me up." Tears welled in my mother's eyes. "That's not true." "It is true," I said, placing my phone on the table. "And I have the recording to prove it." Their eyes widened in horror as I pressed play. The recording of them telling Hale I was nothing. My mother covered her mouth. My father shook his head. "Mira, please," he whispered. "Don't do this." But I wasn't doing anything. They had already done it. "I've sent this to the authorities," I said. "They're launching an investigation." My mother collapsed into her chair. My father looked like someone had ripped the floor out from under him. "You ruined us," he whispered. I stood up. "No," I said softly. "You ruined yourselves. I just stopped letting you ruin me." And with that I walked out. For the second time in my life. I left that house as someone who no longer belonged there. But this time I wasn't broken. I was free. The investigation moved faster than I expected. Within days, the company was audited. Within weeks, Hale's hidden accounts were discovered. And within a month, he was arrested. Fraud, extortion, coercion. The charges piled up like stones on a grave. My parents' company wasn't shut down, but it was temporarily seized. My father stepped down. My mother resigned quietly. They didn't call me. They didn't text. They didn't try to explain. Maybe they were too ashamed. Maybe they blamed me. Maybe both. But I didn't celebrate their downfall. I didn't want revenge. Not truly. I wanted closure. And I finally had it. Meanwhile, as their empire crumbled, something unexpected happened. The family members who applauded at my birthday. The relatives who looked at me with judgment. They started reaching out. "I'm so sorry, Mira. We didn't know the truth. We should have stood up for you." But I didn't need their apologies. I learned something far more important. When people turn against you because someone else tells them to, they were never on your side to begin with. Dance around loyalty all you want. Betrayal reveals everything. One evening I found an envelope on my doorstep. Handwriting I recognized instantly. My mother's. Inside a letter. "We failed you. We thought we were protecting you, but we only caused harm. We understand if you never want to see us again. Just know we love you. Even if we don't deserve to. I read it over and over. Cried more than I had in weeks. Because love isn't enough. Love doesn't erase betrayal. Love doesn't erase abandonment. But it still hurts when the people who raised you break your heart in ways strangers never could. I didn't respond. Not yet. Some wounds cannot be closed with a letter. Some truths need time. And healing isn't a sprint. It's a slow, uneven walk. After everything fell apart, I expected to crumble too. But instead, grew. Focused on my art again. Poured every emotion, rage, heartbreak, hope, into canvases that felt more alive than anything I'd created before. My story began to shape my paintings. And people felt it. Art galleries started calling. Small exhibitions turned into larger ones. I wasn't the daughter they disowned anymore. I was my own person. Self-made. Independent. Whole. Layla cheered the loudest. See. They didn't break you. They reinvented you. Maybe she was right. One afternoon, while preparing for a new exhibition, I got a message from my father. Not a long one. Not dramatic. We're ready to talk whenever you are. For the first time, the decision was mine. Not theirs. Not Hale's. Not the family's. So I responded. Someday. Not now. I'm healing. And it was the truth. Healing didn't mean forgetting. Healing didn't mean forgiving instantly. Healing didn't mean pretending nothing happened. Healing meant choosing myself first, something I had never done before. The wound my parents left would always exist. But wounds don't define us. They shape us. They sharpen us. They prepare us for a future we once thought impossible. And for the first time in my life, I felt unstoppable. People assume the greatest betrayals come from enemies. But they don't. The deepest pain comes from the people who promise to love you forever. My parents didn't physically hurt me. They didn't scream. They didn't fight. They simply erased me. And sometimes, silence wounds more than any weapon ever could. But here's what I learned. 1. Some people will choose their fears over their family. Fear makes people do desperate things, even betray those they love. 2. Love without courage is useless. My parents loved me. I know they did. But they didn't have the courage to stand up for me. And because of that, their love wasn't enough to protect me. 3. You are allowed to walk away. Not every relationship deserves a second chance. Not every wound must be reopened. 4. Family is not defined by blood. Sometimes your real family is the person who stays by your side when your entire world collapses, even if they share no DNA with you. 5. You are stronger than the people who abandon you. If someone throws you away, let them. Because your worth has nothing to do with their blindness. On my 25th birthday, I lost everything. My family, my identity, my sense of belonging. But in losing everything, found myself. I learned that I didn't need my parents' approval to live. I didn't need their name to define me. I didn't need their acceptance to succeed. All I needed was the courage to stand alone. And now, when I look at my life, my art, my growth, my strength, I realize something. They didn't break me. They freed me. Sometimes betrayal is not the end of your story. Sometimes it's the beginning of the chapter where you finally become who you were meant to be.